In the heart of the Caribbean sat Isla Sombria, a lush island, thick with orchids, palms, and jungle vines that draped like emerald curtains. Locals spoke of a jagged ruin half swallowed by vines near the eastern shore. Las Sombras Villa, built in 1928 by eccentric botanist Emilio Cortez. He claimed to have discovered a flower that bloomed only at midnight and sang a mournful lament. After Cortez vanished without a trace in 1931, the villa was abandoned, and whispers began. Some said the flowers still sang, calling travelers into the jungle where they were never seen again. Late last spring, travel writer Ava Sinclair arrived in Puerto Luna. She was chasing legends of cursed locales and had heard of Isla Sombria's fabled villa. Determined to record its story, she chartered a small skiff and, at dawn, set out for the eastern shore. Waves licked the hull as she navigated toward a rocky cove, stepping ashore at the base of a narrow footpath choked by undergrowth. The morning air clung heavy with humidity, and cicadas droned like half-remembered dreams. Ava's flashlight cut through the overgrowth, revealing the crumbling white columns of Las Sombras Villa. Its once grand façade was marred by mildew and snake-like vines. The front door hung ajar, revealing an arched foyer that led into darkness. She stepped inside, careful to avoid loose floorboards. Moonlight filtered through shattered windows, illuminating dust-coated portraits of Cortez in a starched botanical smock, eyes wild with obsession. His final folly seemed preserved in every cracked tile and half-rotted beam. She set up her camera and voice recorder in what had once been a sunroom, now a panorama of shattered stained glass panels. As she spoke into the mic, Ava Sinclair, documenting Las Sombras Villa at Isla Sombria. A sudden breeze stirred, though no door or window was open. The smell of damp earth intensified. She frowned and scanned the room. A single flower petal, black as obsidian, drifted across the floor and landed at her boot. She stooped to examine it. A midnight orchid, perfectly intact, though the plant ought to be extinct. Her pulse quickened. Footsteps echoed behind her, soft and deliberate, on the plaster floor. She swung the flashlight toward the hallway. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then, at the far end, a pale shape shimmered. The ghost of a woman who wore a tattered gown spun from moonlight. Her face was obscured by long, tangled hair. She stared directly at Ava, head cocked, as if listening for a faint song. Ava's breath caught. The apparition lifted a single finger, beckoning. Compelled, Ava followed down a corridor strewn with debris. Windows along one wall faced a courtyard where twisted vines engulfed a stone fountain. The water within was black, reflecting the wrecked columns above. The ghost drifted past a doorway to the master bedroom. Ava stepped inside. A massive four-poster bed dominated the room, its canopy shredded. On the bedside table sat a tarnished silver mirror. Cortez's journal lay open beside it, pages covered in elegant script. Tonight I sit among flowers that seek the stars. They sing to me and promise secrets beyond the veil. Ava read aloud. The song begins at midnight. Those who listen find themselves unbound into something older than memory. A soft hum rose, melding with the distant crash of waves. Goosebumps rippled across her skin. She took a step back and froze. The mirror's surface rippled like disturbed water, then solidified to show a reflection that was not her own. Behind her, within the mirror, a crowd of shadowy figures crowded the bedroom floor, eyes glinting, mouths pressed into mournful O's. They stared, shapeless yet alive, their forms flickering like dying embers. Ava's legs trembled. She turned to flee, but the ghost woman stood between her and the door, arms outstretched. The phantom's voice drifted in her mind, a childlike melody, at once beautiful and sorrowful. Ava's ears filled with a chorus of distant humming, as though dozens of voices rose from the ground. The midnight orchids outside the window unfurled, petals clicking open like porcelain wings. Their centers glowed softly, revealing tiny filaments that vibrated in uncanny rhythm. Ava stumbled backward, only to catch her boot on a loose plank. She fell, and the piano in the corner, once grand and ivory, screeched as a single key depressed, playing a note so high and pure it shattered the air. The reflected crowd in the mirror surged forward, trailing black mist. The phantom woman's hair floated as if underwater. Ava scrambled to her feet, heart racing, and ran for the door, only to find it sealed by vines that writhed like snakes, thorns gleaming. Desperate, she spun, light flickering across the room. In the mirror, one figure, the same gown as the ghost, stepped forward. Its hand reached out, shattering the glass with a crack that echoed like a rifle shot. Ava screamed, glass shards scattering. The crowd within the mirror vanished, leaving only the shattered frame. She crouched, trembling, and noticed the journal's final note. Do not look through the glass. Once you see them, they will see you. A roar of thunder rattled the villa. Rain hammered the shattered windows. Vines lashed at the walls, and a deep hollowness filled the halls. Ava forced herself to her feet, heart in her throat. She retraced her path through the corridor, the ghost woman following silently. The hum became a chant, intensifying into a cacophony. With every step, she felt the villa's weight pressing in, earth and stone and centuries of sorrow resolving into a single hunger. At last, she reached the foyer. The front door, once locked by rusted hinges, now swung wide as though inviting escape. She sprinted across the threshold into the torrential rain. The courtyard was still, save for the gentle babble of the brook. She turned to glance at the villa. Moonlight illuminated columns of broken windows, some shattered, some boarded. In one upper window, she saw a single, pale face pressed against the glass, eyes unblinking, mouth open in a silent scream. She raced across the courtyard, boots slipping on wet grass. As she reached the gate, a soft, sorrowful whisper trailed behind. Remember us. She didn't look back. The forest path wound through choking vines and muddy roots. The humming faded, blending into the wind's moan. The marshy ground glistened under the rain, reflecting bioluminescent orchids that bloomed beneath the canopy. Their faint glow parted like sentinels guiding her to the skiff where she had left her gear. Drenched and shaking, she boarded the boat and untied the rope. A final glance over her shoulder revealed the villa's shape, receding into the downpour, bathed in spectral moonlight. A single midnight orchid floated in the wreckage of the front hall, petals open in eternal lament. As she rowed toward open water, the soft hum returned, distant but insistent, like a warning carried on the wind. Ava clutched the journal to her chest. Somewhere deep within her, she carried the echo of that mournful song. She vowed never to return, though she knew the villa would always beckon those curious enough to listen. Sweet dreams.